time to watch for the moves. They're not hard to find. Strong arm tactics so loud, only themselves in mind. Every player has dreams of making ORCA fame. They'll live on in the minds of those who get in their way. ORCA's all say, don't come for me. Mid-merge boots, they're so vain. As we set up the podcast webcam, the pod is here to talk ORCA game. ORCA King CK with delusions of fame. In this LRG world, he's the apex predator. Danny and Jules in tow, always ready to go. Now it's time for the show. They're the apex predators.
Hello and welcome to the ORCA Pod, the apex predators of Australian Survivor LRG podcasting. Here we are, the merge of Sydney Survivor Season 2. I have my merge buff, which lovingly Danny mailed to me because even though I am a significant donor to Sydney Survivor, as you can see in the credits, my name is there in lights, I was supposed to receive all the buffs, yet Eli only ever sent me the introvert and extrovert buff. I now have the merge buff. It's actually very pretty. It's a great color. So thank you, Danny, because that's my thing to have the buffs. It's like my fun little bit. Where is my? I'm gonna have to just start the interview without him. I gave. Here he is. Okay. It's just going to be a two-man show this evening, but we've got a lot to get through. And we've got two. Yes, I can see there's a foot behind me, Isabel. It's my daughter. Thank you. We have a lot to get through this evening with two interviews. We'll be speaking to both Maddie, coming fresh off the edge of extinction, and also Isabel, the first boot, and Mayor of the jury. So two-man show. Please cease your behavior. Two-man show. But bringing in, we haven't had him on the show for a while. He was caught up with work, and it's a pretty special time to be bringing him in because I have a special announcement for our end of season coverage for both Sydney and Canberra and any of our future seasons. As many of you will know, Annabelle, who's been a big part of our program in the Tea Party for many years, does real podcasting, like on RHAP and stuff, like real shit, like that people listen to. It isn't just our little echo chamber. Like real people listen to real RHAP stuff with real RHAP people. She's friends with Rob Sisternina, for fuck's sake. It's incredible. So look, she wouldn't have left me. She wouldn't have quit on me. But I said, Annabelle, if you want to step aside from doing the Tea Party, that's cool. There's only one person I could think that could possibly replace you in the entire LRG community. There's no one that can bring the tea like you, Annabelle. But if somebody can, it's this person. So really excited to welcome him this evening. Yes, you're Annabelle. She's gone on to bigger and better things, Tyrone. So I've needed a new Tea Party host. And the new Tea Party host is, of course, the only person who could possibly even conceivably fill her shoes, and the big shoes to fill, is my co-host for this evening. Let me get the thing up. It's Josh. Who else would it be?
Hey. I can't believe you're saying such nice words about me, saying that, like that I even hold a candle to the iconicness of Annabelle. Like, thank you. I mean, you're not wrong, but it's just nice to hear someone else say it when normally it's just me in my own head. But thank you.
I don't think there's anyone else in the community who could come close to bringing the tea and serving the hot tea that we need on the Tea Party episode. That's you. And, sometimes you've been criticized about maybe being a little bit mean or a little bit insensitive. But on the Tea Party, that shit don't matter. It's all fair. Yeah. It's all go there. No rules. It's the Thunderdome.
100%. And I think it will be good because, I've traveled and played or crewed and stuff around. So, I've got to know people. So maybe they'll feel more comfortable spilling even more tea if I'm the host,
Yes. Yes, I feel comfortable with you. Yes, absolutely. So that's been looked forward to later in the year. Also to be looked forward to later in the year, as in not that far, on the, it's going to be July. It's going to be it's actually going to be August. It's going to be the 1st of August. If you live in Melbourne, the Uncharted Waters ORCA Drinks / live Uncharted Waters reunion will be taking place in Melbourne. $1,000 on me on the bar because of the ORCA champions making the top 5. If you're in Melbourne, be there. It will be the place to be. Details will be dropping on our socials soon. But looking forward to that. And of course, the ORCA drinks are still on the table for Sydney Survivor. Tyrone, the People's Champion, has made the top 9. He just needs to survive 4 more boots to make the top 5 for the Sydney Survivor community to also get me to put 1,000 wing wangs on a bar. What do you think? Do you think Tyrone's going to make the top 5? Josh, we haven't had you for a while.
Possibly, yeah. I feel like he's not maybe like in the tightest like alliance situation, so maybe he won't get there through like tight allies, but he might get there as, you know, he just sort of worms his way in that little gap. Maybe
I will do what's going to happen in the future, but I feel like he might just fall short by 1 spot. That's my current predictions on the season, but we'll have to see how that goes when we get to it. But now we are bringing in oh, she's gone. She was right here. She's disappeared.
Oh.
Please come back, Maddie. I was about to bring you in. Fill some space while I send her a message. Fill some space.
Oh, okay. Fill some space. Okay. Yeah.
Good. Effective job. Let's hit up the graphic. So excited to talk about this little chaos demon. I'm so sad that she did not make it to the merge because she was doing all sorts of funky things that people weren't really cotton on to. Like, she's with Ian and Deo in Maddie's Misfits, flips on them to the other group, finds out Mac has an idol, probably thinking about using her knowledge as power on it. She was thinking about using it. Goes to the other tribe, writes down Mac's name in the double earn thing for shits and giggles. Like, what the fuck? No reason at all. She was like aligned with him 2 minutes ago. Then tries to throw a lot in with the other guys. Absolutely tries to throw Beck under the bus. But I think maybe the one person you least expect, who's just going on pure instinct, Oscar, was just a bit not there. Everyone else like, yeah, Maddie. And Oscar's like, nah, don't feel it. And they went with Oscar, and she was booted. And sadly, her domino stacking strategy didn't live up to the pressure of the game, and we lost her. But it's so sad because I think she could have been so dynamic in this merge environment. Can't wait to hear about all the things she did and the reasons for them. Let's bring in Maddie. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey.
So did you go into
my internet's a bit dodgy.
Can you hear us? That's all that matters. We can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Cool.
Did you come into the game with the intention of being such a chaos demon?
No, I didn't even realize I was one until you pointed it out. Like, I went in there just thinking I'm going to make friends with everyone and be a yes girl. So I guess in doing that, I kind of cut off some other people along the way.
Well, take us back. You know, you start off with Maddie's Misfits, as we named this on this podcast, because we saw you as the key cog in that group. What is it about the group of Ian, Shane, and Deo that draw you to them as an opening alliance?
Well, when I first got to the breakfast, Shane was the person that I connected with instantly. So he was my number one. Mac was there too, and Ian. So we kind of just made up this like, okay, let's work together because we were the first ones there. But then get into the game, I saw Mac find like a clue, and then he's going off chatting with Nat, chatting with Rissa, chatting with Belle. So I didn't really get to reconnect with him again. So I wanted to be everyone's number one. Like, I didn't want to be number 6. So I was a little bit wary of Mac when he was talking to every person on the tribe. And Deo particularly wasn't talking to anyone. So I thought that was a good person to bring on side for me because he didn't know much about Survivor. I knew that he would be loyal because if he didn't know Survivor, he wouldn't know how to backstab and turn on people. So I thought he'd be a really loyal number for me that no one else wanted to work with at that point. So that was kind of how it initially came together. But I was also kind of playing both sides, keeping that Mac relationship intact. And I also had a good solid bond with Rissa in the beginning, which you don't see on camera, but we decided to kind of play each side, knowing that we had a group each. So I was never going to write her name down either. We were kind of a sneaky alliance in the background.
Is that what caused you to have to then flip on that group and join with Marissa, Mac, and Isabel? You could have voted for Isabel in that vote and still, maintained all of these alliances. But you and Shane.
I was pretty keen to keep in until that chat with Belle that got Shane super paranoid. So when she said to him, he's trying to put your name out there, and Shane was like, oh, he threw my name out, well, he's got to go then. And that kind of put doubt in our mind that, oh, maybe he is a bit more sneaky. Yeah, this was Ian. Yeah. But I was still in two minds. I was like, oh, do I go with which group? But Shane was very much like, oh, like, no, if my name's out there, he's got to go. And I was just aligned with Shane. So that's how that kind of ended up working. It was literally like a minute before the tribal. So good on Belle for kind of throwing that spanner in the works because she pulled the wool over our eyes with that vote.
You then get swapped, and from our perspective, you do an incredible job of identifying the group in power, who's not in power, and we'll talk about what ultimately happened. But you seem to build very strong bonds with that group. Did you feel like that was going to be a solid group for you moving forward?
Yeah, like, I mean, definitely, yeah. With Survivor, I don't want to just be like, I'm in the extroverts and I'm an extrovert till I die. It's like I've got to adapt to whatever situation I'm in for the game in that moment. And my personality type can kind of go either way. I'm not like a really extroverted extrovert. So it was actually hilarious when Belle and I came into the camp, and obviously we're, slightly different scale of extrovert, and I could see their faces just be so overwhelmed with all the chatter. So I kind of played that to my advantage. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to meld in with this group and be what they want me to be. Like, if it's going to go to vote straight away, I have to be more likable than Belle if they're just going to go voting out an extrovert. So that was my tactic to kind of really get in with them, get to know them, and be one of them, I guess. And I thought that I could use that for the long game as well, depending on if we did another tribe swap or if I stayed in with them till merge. I was keen to use that new relationship going forward. But I also kept my options open with Belle because she was trying to do this thing with Tim. So, it worked out that we never got to go to vote. So I kind of didn't have to play my cards. But then that ended up hurting me in the end because I didn't get to prove my trust with that introvert group. But yeah, I guess the whole game I'm kind of like leveraging all my relationships to see what one is going to get me further should it come to that point where I have to decide. But I didn't really need to choose because, like I said, we never went to vote.
Well, you say you didn't get to vote, but you did get to vote on that your tribe votes for the other tribal council twist, and you just for shits and giggles threw Mac's name in there. What was the thinking on that? Last we heard you were aligned with him.
No, I wasn't really as aligned with Mac. Like I said, initially I was, and then I was a bit wary of him. Like I knew, I got told early on that he had this podcast, so I knew he was really well versed in Survivor. I thought if anyone's going to be sneaky or like throw me under the bus to get ahead in the game, it would be Mac. I guess that was probably a little naive of me or something, because watching the game back, Mac's kind of the straightest shooter out of everyone. He just says exactly what he's thinking. So
he's outraged. He thought you were
Yeah, but you're aligned with everyone, Max. So yeah, I was just kind of I wanted some solid numbers that were gonna have my back no matter what, as opposed to someone that would throw you under the bus at any chance.
Well, can I put something to you though? You had the knowledge is power, and you were well aware that Mac had an idol. And you actually, when you vote for him there, say you've got an idol and that's either got to go, I want you to use it, etc. Would you not want someone with the idol to keep it so that you could take the idol? Like if you know where the advantage is, that's a benefit.
Yeah, but he wasn't on my tribe at that point. So like I'd prefer to flush the idol, get it in play, and then have the idol and the knowledge is power for myself. Like I guess I wasn't trying to think of keeping it till the merge. Like I was happy to kind of use it if I needed it now. But yeah, I wasn't really, that would mean that I'd have to get through to merge, Mac would have to get to merge, and then we'd both have to still have them, you know, like, so yeah, it just, yeah, I'd prefer to have it back in play and then hopefully try and find it myself rather than it being in someone else's back pocket.
We talk about the knowledge is power. You do ultimately use it as a bit of a Hail Mary. You were convinced Chris had something in his pocket. Turned out to be nothing. I was a bit vocal. I don't know if you were listening to our podcast last week. I was a bit vocal thinking that Chris, and maybe you didn't know this so well, but Chris was the one that had your back like the absolute most.
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw that episode back. Like I actually messaged Chris saying, thank you. I didn't realize how much you were going into bat for me. Like out of the three of them, yeah, I was surprised that he was in my corner.
And, you know, I suggested that perhaps you should have used it as a bargaining chip to keep you over Beck. Did you think about doing anything like that in the time, or did you think that that wouldn't be something?
No, I didn't think of using it as a bargaining chip. I thought about trying to use it as a bit of a strong arming tactic.
Love that here. We love strong arming.
But it was just really like quick, and I also didn't want to burn the bridges if I had the alliance. Like, so I didn't want to, if they were going to keep me, kind of force their hand and be like, hey, unless you guys vote for this person, then I'm going to use this. Like, I didn't want to get on their bad side if they were with me all along. So it was really like a fragile kind of scenario where I had to, choose whether I wanted to like back them into a corner essentially and pretend, like bluff that I had something that I didn't, because knowledge is power wasn't going to really do anything for me. None of them had anything. And I guess I was trying to be subtle about the fact that I had something, but almost too subtle, because say I had an idol and I said, oh, I'm going to play an idol. Like, why would I do that? If I actually had one, I would keep it secret. So I kept like second guessing how I can tell them that I've got something without them being like, well, if you actually did, you wouldn't show it. Like, so you might have seen at Tribal, I got the advantage and I like rustled in my bag and I put it on top of my bag to hope that someone would see it. And then I said to them like, oh, don't forget that there's like advantages and idols in play. So I guess that was my idea of trying to say to them, hey guys, I've got something, without being like, oh, here's my fake thing that I'm going to try and bluff you with. So yeah, I've been like,
we had a lot going on. It sounds like you had a lot going on. You were very thinking about the game all the time. And I loved the way you fought with Beck at the tribal council. You was respectful, which is why you didn't get the ORCA of the episode. But it was a sensible and strong argument to why they should keep you over her. Were you surprised to find out that ultimately it was Oscar that seemed to make the decision? Noting Mac's comments about Oscar, which we'll talk about later this evening, that he didn't appear to have a lot of agency, but it seemed that ultimately, from our perspective, Chris and Tilly sort of went with what he wanted. Did that surprise you?
I think Tilly had a bit more sway than what it looked like in that footage. Like, so I initially chatted with Chris, got really good feelings with him, went and talked to Oscar. He was like pretty straight up, like, I don't know if I'm going to go you or Beck. And so I was like, okay, well, that's fair. I appreciate your honesty. And in that whole time, Beck and Tilly were chatting. So by the time I got to Tilly, like she had done a good like 5-7 minutes with Beck. So that was where I was a bit like, oh, I don't think I've got her here. And then it wasn't until I watched the footage back that Chris kind of was going into bat for me with Tilly, and she was considering it. Like, yeah, so it was a lot closer than what I actually anticipated. I just kind of thought that they were going with Beck, and so my only play was to try and tell them that she wasn't good for their long game. And that's what Tilly kept saying, actually. She was like, I just have to decide what's going to happen moving forward and what relationships you have with the other side. But I didn't know whether she was meaning like, I'm worried about Maddie because she knows the extroverts, or that's a benefit that she knows the extroverts, so I could bring them into that alliance. So I guess I just went into my pitch saying that, hey, you've been with me longer than Beck, like take me with you and let's build that relationship that we've already started for the last 3 challenges. But yeah, it obviously wasn't enough to like they probably thought I was saying, yeah, I'm with you without having proved it.
Well, this is the question. I don't know what you were going to do either. As I said, Chaos Demon, I don't know if you would have stuck with the introverts or you would have looked to work with the extroverts. Now, this is always a bit of a pointless hypothetical because, like, you'll just say whatever is the better answer for the people you're actually close to now. Like, if you're best friends with Mac, you say, I definitely would have gone back with Mac, like, whatever, because there's no benefit in, like, snowing him.
Yeah.
But can you give us an honest answer of where you think you would have played, or would you have not known until you saw the dynamics when you got there, and then whatever's best for Maddie is what Maddie would have done?
Well, it was actually really interesting. It wasn't until I got to Tribal Council that I found out Beck played an idol for herself to save herself with the Shane Marissa vote. So I was thinking in my head, wow, like my original extrovert alliance is falling apart because Shane's turned on Rissa and banded with Beck.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's why I was like, okay, I need to build a new relationship moving forward. But I kind of got blindsided at the tribal when I tried to use that as a pitch, being like, Beck's in with the extroverts, she's going to team up with Tim. And Beck was like, well, actually, no, they voted for me all these times and I had to use my idol to save myself. Then I was like, oh, well, that kind of screwed my logic there. And I didn't really have a foot to stand on. So, yeah, it wasn't until that tribal that I realized my extroverts were still with me, but going like at that point I was introvert strong.
It's actually really funny because in fact Beck was working closely with Shane, and even though she did need to use that second idol to save herself, it didn't diminish the relationship that they had built. So, you know, watching it as a viewer, you seem very correct. Even though she said that, we're like, well, that wasn't really how it went down. But in the time, I can see that sitting at that tribal council, she's like, I'd use 2 idols. Yeah, it doesn't sound like they're very close.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of was shocked by that. I didn't know what to think because I hadn't got to speak to anyone on the other side for quite a few votes. Like I hadn't seen Shane in so long, even though he was my number 1 right at the start. I was like, are we still aligned or have you made some new relationships? Like, yeah, you can't tell unless you've had those conversations, I guess.
And I guess, you know, then you go, of course, to the edge, face the edge challenge. We have the dramatic moment of Nat's medevac, and then you and Morgan and Joe spend the night in the tribal council TP. What was the vibes like there? You know, you thought you'd know whether you're going to get back into the game. You're sleeping for 1 shot to get back in the game. Obviously, this has been a significantly somewhat traumatic moment with Nat and the paramedics coming. How was that evening with yourself and Morgan and Joe?
Yeah, it was fine. Like we were exhausted. We'd had a big long day of Survivor. We were stoked that we got a tent when everyone else was out like under the stars. So that was nice. I hadn't met either of them yet. Like I hadn't been on any tribe with them. So I was kind of like, out of the 3 of us, only one's going to get back. So Joe, I've heard you've got a half idol. Would you be interested in like passing it on if you weren't going to make it? And she kind of shut that right down. Like, oh, well, I'm just going to try my best to make it. So like, you know, weren't really keen on strategizing, I guess. So yeah, we ended up just having a good old snooze. I was expecting we were going to go and do the same bucket challenge in the morning. Like I guess now in hindsight it makes sense that timings with LRGs wouldn't make sense. Like it wouldn't play out to do it that way. But yeah, I was psyching myself up all night to go and do this enduro challenge in the morning. And then when we got to the domino challenge, I was like, oh, like that's a lot more chance than grit. Like I was going to back myself in the bucket challenge to just stand there until I either had a second medivac or I won.
Yeah. Well, I said at the start of this that I was disappointed you didn't make merge. I'm even more disappointed now. No offense to Joe. I feel like you really had a lot of game to play, that you played a lot of game in the time you were there, but you probably had so much more game to play and to the episode was dynamic. I think it's going to continue to be dynamic, but I think you could have brought an even more dynamo to this merge. So I hope we get to see you play again one day. I think we were robbed. Tyrone's also disappointed. I think we were robbed to not see more of you. So
thank you. That's lovely.
Yeah, I think you just give me, like when I just first started watching, you were one of the people I picked as a standout. I'm like, they've got a little something. They've got that special like survivor. What is that saying? Je ne sais quoi or whatever. Like you just give that vibe of someone that was going to be a big character and stuff. And you were, but yeah, I thought you would go further. I was like, you could potentially win, like, or you'd, maybe come like 5th and be robbed at the end because you're a threat. Yeah, you remind me of like Sarah Lucina vibes a little bit. Like you're just very confident and you know how to work a group. Like you're good. I would love to see you play again.
Josh, I thought you were going to say she reminded me of you.
No, she's too chill to be me. She's not as chaotic.
She's just chaotic, but it's like under the radar chaos, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words for us, Maddie?
No, I just had a great time. Like it was my first time ever doing any LRG, and I think I've learned a lot since then watching. And like my strategy for future games would probably be a bit different. I'd like to kind of play a bit more stronger game rather than like under the radar. So yeah, hopefully get another chance.
Would love to see you. Thanks for coming on, Maddie. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me. See you guys.
Bye.
So, Josh, do you know what happened in episode 8 of season 1 of Sydney Survivor season 1? I'm throwing you in the deep end. It wasn't actually much of an episode, to be honest.
How many people were left?
This is the one where Joseph went, and Joseph, who is now the host of his own franchise over in
the Cayman Islands, Joseph.
We might do some coverage on that coming up. But it was a bit of a nothing episode on that. So I think that if we compare that episode to this episode, this is going to be the superior episode 8. It's a win for the cast here already. Look, production, buckle up, because I have opinions about the advantages.
Oh yeah, me too, actually.
Let's get into all the advantages, and let's just run through some of these. Josh, what do you think about Joe getting half an idol in the first challenge, surviving 2 challenges to win her way back into the game, and to be told it's just dead?
Yes, I was thinking this because isn't that usually the rule? Like when someone goes to redemption, anything they've had is like nullified. But I always think, to be honest, if they win back, I think it should get like reignited or something. I don't know what the word is, but I do agree that it should have like become valid again, and that would have imagine that she could have joined with the others and like done a massive idol play. Like it could have been iconic. But you
can make up whatever rules you want. Like you made up one tribe voted for Mac for some reason. Like it's your own.
Yeah, and you make up that the shot in the dark is like valid in random tribals for some reason, and like what is the reasoning behind that? I don't know.
That's fine. That's fine. You can. The point. I don't think you can say it's survivor rules because you make up your own rules as you have in this season, which is perfectly fine. And also, I don't think anyone's ever gone to the edge with a half idol, maybe a full idol, but not a half idol. So you could play different rules with a half idol. I also think because there was not a guaranteed idol available to the edge returnee, only Morgan had that from an advantage. It wouldn't be overpowered to let Joe have this half idol. If she had Morgan's advantage as well, then maybe you think like she doesn't need two idols. But she doesn't have anything. All she had was this half idol. Shane's still in the game. I would have called, even if this was the plan, I would have called a production audible and said, let's just make that thing real. Like, that's much more interesting. No one knows. No one knows. Also, she should be faking, as should Shane, more so that it is real.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, I get this point, Eli. I would have told her she couldn't pass it at the edge, but because she got back in herself, I would have said she can use it. But I agree with the passing. Maybe she can't give it to Morgan or Maddie if they get back in. That would have been where I probably fell as a balance. What about the Sneaky Stevie just advantage smorgasbord? One trivia question, right? And here's all the goodies.
Yeah, that was a bit wild. It was lovely to see him. That was such a cool little cameo appearance. And then I was shocked when I thought, oh, cute, we've seen him. And then he's back at camp and he's like strategizing with Shane, giving him his advantage clue. But it was like verbal, wasn't written. And then he kept saying more and more and more. And I'm like, is this fair? I think it was a bit much. I kind of, yeah.
It was actually
didn't sit right with me a little bit.
Let's just bank what Sneaky Steve was. And it is great that Sneaky Steve was there. Sydney Survivor is really setting itself up as the powerhouse LRG in terms of these actual Survivor cameos. We had Christy playing in the first season. Christy also appeared in this season. Now we have Steve. Who knows what they'll be able to do in future seasons. Like, I remember a time when the community was pretty excited that Connor from season 1 showed up to a Canberra Award. Like, the stuff that Sydney are putting on and getting these people to come in is pretty amazing. And I'm pretty sure that Eli just DMs these people and they don't until they just agree to come on the thing. I'm pretty sure that's what happens. But he does a very good job of it. He's just talking about Stevie. Yeah, I think the problem is Steve kind of is like, I'm going to make sure he gets it. Eli said, just give him the clue, and he basically showed him. I think that's Steve vibe. Like, I don't think you can trust Steve to like be subtle. But let's just go through. What is this an actual? Is this an actual question, Tara? Like 2 episodes ago. So you got the advantage in the challenge, which we'll also talk about. You got a guaranteed idol, basically, because Steve was pretty clear how to find it, and potentially 2 idols. Because I don't know if you saw, Josh, in that location there were 2 X's, and Matt found his idol at the other X. Like, there were literally 2 X's. So when Steve and Shane are first talking, there's an X behind them, and that's not the X that Shane goes to get the idol. That's a different X. And then Matt
I thought it was the same one.
At the other X. So there were 2 idols and 2 X's. If Shane had been a little bit more observant, he could have had 2 idols. That was the same X. Okay, so you're saying there were 2 idols at the same X. Did the second one get placed?
Oh.
Okay. Okay. There were 2 X's.
Oh.
Yeah. Was the introverts swapped idol, and it was at the old X. Okay, but okay. So there were 2 X's. Okay. No, I get that. There were 2 X's. One had the merge idol, and one had the old introverts swap idol. However, Steve saying X marks the spot could have led Shane to quite easily find 2 idols, which is my starting position. How amazing would that be? So, and then Shane finds some more advantages later. Do we, given how powerful this advantage ended up being, And I'm not saying we needed them to tell everybody what the advantages would be. I was happy for the secret rollout, but I feel like the challenge should have been more even-handed, such that, you know, maybe a survivor quiz where Stevie asked everybody 5 questions. Whatever you score, you get. And then if there was a tie, then you could do that, the key in the hand thing. I feel like it just seemed too casual and too random.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, I'm sad. Like, I would love to do a Survivor trivia challenge because, you know, I'm not the best at physical things. I'm like, give me a trivia challenge. Like, I love that one, Eli. Good work.
So that's that. And I want to talk a little before and we'll talk about all the gameplay in a minute. I'm just getting all the advantage stuff out. Shane also finds at the immunity challenge a blocker vote. That's just luck. He just happened to find that. That's great. What do you think about this egg hunt challenge and the ability to load up other people? I think I'm probably for it because it allows strategy in this somewhat, you know, rando challenge. But it did result in then a pretty clear outcome.
Yeah, I like the loading up aspect because, yeah, it shows, you know, like who you're really aligned with. And, you know, almost like when they do that like pecking order challenge or touchy subject stuff that, you know, you can say verbally, oh yeah, I'm with you. But, you know, usually you only find out at the voting, like at tribal council, if they actually are with you. But this is another opportunity to say, well, you're obviously not with me because you gave your eggs to someone else, which is what Belle did with Tim. So I love that played into that drama.
Yeah, I felt that. Let's talk about that drama. And I felt that Belle was a bit unfair to Tim in that circumstance because, well, Tim giving his eggs to Belle would obviously, maybe because he said he would do it, but once the introverts agreed they were all going to give it to one person, if he rocks up with no eggs, right, that's going to look pretty fucking sus. They're like, where are your eggs? Like, oh, I gave them to Isabel. You know, and they're like, why would you give them to Isabel? Like, if you're going to flip on your group, you need to flip for certainty. All you're doing here is flipping to maybe get her immunity, and the numbers didn't look good with that because of everyone sharing eggs. So if I'm Tim, I'm like, I'm not giving up my flip on a chance of you having immunity. I've got to flip when it's secret. Otherwise, it's pointless.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I did just love the drama of it, though. Like, I loved that Belle just went straight up to him and was like, you know, you're lying to me, blah, blah, blah. I don't trust you from a bar of soap. I was like, yeah, go girl. That's the gameplay I like. Confrontational, said it to his face, but, you know, wasn't mean. And then they kind of, you know, had it out and then kind of quashed it by the end. But about Tim like saying, oh yeah, I'm with you, and they had this bond they kept going on about, like, oh, I'm with you from the start, from the beginning. And I'm like, what, didn't they just meet at the swap? So that wasn't at the start, it was later on. So I was a bit confused at that.
It was quite a while. It was after the third boot, and Tim was the one that Isabel made the best relationship with while she was on the swapped introverts. You know, I feel like there's a potential that Isabel read more into that relationship than Tim thought it was. That's possible. But like, I don't begrudge anything that Tim did here because the numbers just weren't there. There was no one else. Like, if there was an actual group forming of 6 that could vote, but the other swings, the Becks, Tyrone is apparently a swing, but I'm not so sure about that. Joe, they weren't willing to make that move, and I don't think any of them should make that move on this particular tribal council. So why should Tim at this point throw his game away? Like, surely you don't think he should.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But then if he's not going to do that, he shouldn't be giving Belle false hope, because now he is seen as public enemy number one to the extroverts, because he's the one who's directly said, I'm with you, I'm going to do this, and then he doesn't do it. So then their resentment is aimed at him, and good luck to him now getting any of their jury votes. Like, he's stitched himself up now, and all he's done is the same as the other people, like on paper, on the other introverts, except he was just giving them false hope, and that upsets people. I've been there in the game where you pinpoint somebody and they become public enemy number one when they've just done the same as the others, but they've lied to your face. So that's what hurts. It twists the knife.
I do think that's possible, because I think that Belle, being the mayor, is going to have a lot of negativity towards Tim.
Sure.
And she will probably start saying, Tim's just full of shit. He says he'll do something and then never does it. He's a boring player. Like, that's what she's going to say about him. And he might be playing a really good, subtle, under the radar game, but the extrovert in her would say he's boring and doesn't make moves. And that, even if he's playing this really strong game that, is subtle.
Yeah.
People just hearing this negativity about a boring game, which, if you're not seeing the detail, that becomes the perception. And I think that's where he'd get hurt if she's there bad-mouthing him on the jury.
Yeah, I think he is playing a good game. I just think, he's done himself a disservice by being the one, like, telling them what they want to hear, because now he's going to cop all the flack for that.
I think what he should have done is given Isabel some eggs. This would be the big brain strategy. Once you know the introverts are gathering eggs, and he can hardly walk up to their group with 0 eggs, because that's a bit weird. But if he gave Isabel some of his eggs, then maybe that's enough to get her across the line, and he can still deliver some eggs to the introvert group. I'm not saying he's a boring player. I'm saying that's what Isabel will be saying to the jury, to poison them against poor Tim. I'm just predicting the future. I think Tim's a good player.
And we did see with Belle's last word, she was crying. She's very emotional. So that sadness could turn to anger.
Tim's the one that's wronged her. None of those other 6. That's how she feels. Even though I think Shane voted for her, doesn't he? Didn't he? Like, Shane, she was very mad at Shane as well.
Shane is he's just playing every which way. He's wild.
I think what I love about Shane, when we're going to talk through all these players as we go through this episode and see what they were doing, what I love about Shane is he's so considered and calm, well, at least what we're seeing most of the time. And he's still very close with his information. Like, he told Mac he had this tiki idol, which we all thought was not an idol, and it turns out it wasn't an idol. And he says he doesn't have the paperwork, and then Mac's like, that's not a real idol. But from what I can tell, Shane has not volunteered that he has a real idol, nor has he volunteered that he has to steal a vote or block a vote. Meanwhile, Mac's just coughing up all the goods. I've got an idol. I found it over there. Maybe we can play, card games with the roulette with the idol to see where it ends up. Shane does that. And Shane was the last person to go up to Steve. And again, he's not rushing out an answer. And it works out for him. Like, 4 people get the wrong hand before he gets up there. And he gets up there and it's like, right hand. And it just seems like he's calm and collected and things work out for him. And here, obviously, his relationship with Beck let him know that it wasn't him. He trusted that, and then he put a vote on Isabel. I don't know how she'll feel about that.
Yeah, I think she could see, he kind of had to. It was between each other. But just that whole situation, it was setting up for I was thinking oh my God, this could be one of the most iconic LRG tribal councils. If you had, the 3 extroverts, Belle, Mac, and Shane, and then Joe, goes with them. And if their other side was splitting the votes 4-3, then Shane could use the blocker vote on the 4, and then it would be 3-3 against Belle and Shane. And then the extroverts 4 votes with Joe would win out. And I was like, oh my God, this could be like amazing. And then it just all fell apart. And it was just so sad. I was like, oh, I was hoping for an iconic moment.
I think that's I didn't even think about that. That's incredible. I think it's another reason why I'm going to go back to my early conversation and criticize production for not letting Joe and Shane have this shared idol, because I think that arrangement would have brought them closer together. But I'm also going to blame Shane. As I just said, he doesn't share his advantages, and sometimes that's a benefit. But I don't also think he's coming up with these zany plans. Like Max, as we heard from Maddie, is a podcaster, and these podcasters have dangerous ideas. And Matt, with all the information, could have turned this into a millennials Gen X like underdog result, right? But Mac, and I think Belle too. Belle really knows Survivor as well. I think the two of them could have come up with the solution using all these nicks and knacks, but they didn't know they had all the nicks and knacks.
Yeah, agree. Like, yeah, obviously, I don't like when people blab about idols and stuff too much. But if you're in an alliance and you need to get stuff done, you have to share and brainstorm ideas and come up with how can we, you're trying to get these people to flip over. Why would they when they know they're just going to on a sinking ship? You need to incentivize them. We've got this. We're going to do this. Be a part of that move. Put that on your resume.
Yeah.
And then, then maybe the other people can use them, do the big move and then flip back. And then, it's to their benefit too. Yeah, I do think Shane is being too tight-lipped. And maybe that works into how you're saying he's very cool, calm, and collected. He's the oldest person there, probably. I think. Yeah.
At this stage.
Like that's probably, part of it. Like he's not bringing up the drama and doing all this. He's so relaxed and chilled. And that's probably why people trust him as well, because with older people, you do tend to think, oh, they're not going to backstab me. They're like a father figure or whatever. So, yeah, I do think Shane still, I said this a few weeks ago when he had like his backstory come up and about his health and everything. And I was like, amazing content. And yeah, I could see him still winning somehow. Like he's, maybe even though they're in the absolute minority, maybe he does like a JT from Token Teens and he just ends up at the end.
I don't want to jump until the next episode because we do that later. But I think that there's going to be a flip. I think, everything I'm saying is going to change next episode because Mac has an idol and Shane has an idol, and they both need to tell everyone about that. So you go like, hey, you can't vote for the two of us. Now your shit's got to fall apart. You need to tell them that so it all collapses and they turn on each other. This is not a one where you bust out those things and vote out someone at tribal council. No value. This is, you can't vote for us. Where's the breaks? Joe, Bet, Tim, you want to come with us? We can vote out the power four over here. Like, that's the moment.
I would love to see that happen.
I think Max got the savviness. And if Max says he's doing that, he just needs to know Shane's got this idol, which is the challenging point based on what we've talked about. Let's talk a bit, Mac, this episode. He's been promising us these ORCA vibes. We had the ORCA episode earlier in the season where he got the Brommy with Ring a Ding Ding, Mac Daddy's the King, etc. That was the big character version of Mac. In this one, I think we got the real strategic, overthinking, and somewhat strong-arming player that he wants on his Brommy resume to be a contender for the Bromolo medalist at the end of the season. I think particularly there's some good moments. Did you catch the bit where he mentioned that Tyrone's favorite food is sausages? How did you feel about that as a gay man, Josh?
I loved it. I love that. Mac is someone I would work with. Like, I like to have a decent looking guy around who knows the game and can be a bit of a shield, someone to have a bit of flirty banter with. And I'm seeing his gameplay. I feel like he's totally, using that flirt card on Belle and it's working. Like she would throw her whole game away for Mac. It's great. I love it.
You do like
I'd be Belle. I'd be like, Mac Daddy, hey.
You do like the long-haired boys as well, not like Michael, your OG.
Yeah, he reminds me of Michael from my season with like the top knot thing.
It's easier, Michael. And then I got to applaud Mac at the Tribal Council, just fucking laying into Oscar. you know, he's like, I've had conversations. I'm feeling okay. Like, I know what the hierarchy is. And Oscar's like, you didn't talk to me. He's like, look, mate, I'm going to prioritize my time, and you're not worth it. You're not worth the time. There's a hierarchy, and you're pretty much at the bottom of it. So I'm not wasting my time with you. That was like, I don't know what the agenda there, other than to entertain me. To be perfectly honest, I don't actually think that's good gameplay. I think Mac was just frustrated, but I don't think the podcasting Mac who talks about good gameplay would say that was a good decision to ostracize and someone like that who could be necessary for you. But from an entertainment point of view, from an ORCA point of view, it was delicious and I loved it. Poor Oscar.
Oh yeah, I loved it. It's something I did, my season when me and Rachel were on the bottom and we were just roasting the boring yellow tribe. When you're on the bottom, you're gonna probably be going home anyway. What have you got left to lose? Just give it to them and bring some good content. It's great. And maybe that will shake Oscar up. Like, he doesn't know Survivor. He seems, like a bit of a, I don't know, what's the word? Like, bit of a Darrow vibe, Is that a word people say over East? I don't know. People say it in Perth. But like someone where if you rile him up like that.
Is the word. I think Bogan is probably what you're looking for.
No, more Darrow than Bogan. Like, he looks like he'd be a train rat. He'd be like an S-shape.
Darrow's a bit more of a nasty term.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, not in Perth. That's okay.
It's like not far off being like a
cultural differences. But yeah, like, he seems like someone where maybe by Mac doing that would actually stir something up, because he's so nonchalant about the game. He really doesn't care. Even in this episode, I don't watch Survivor. I don't know who Steve is. Maybe Mac doing that to him will hit his ego, and then he'll try and make a move. You never know. Different people react differently. That's not going to work on like Beck. Beck would be like, oh my God, you're rude. I'm never going to speak to you again. With Oscar, that might work.
Let's talk about Oscar. As you said, I do think though, like, he's learning as the game goes on. There was the confessional where they're talking about whether they should split votes or whether they should load up. And he's like, I think he says that we should load up, which is probably the right move, but it is a bit risky. But as Matt keeps saying, are this 7? Do they actually trust each other enough to split votes? Like, I get, and I think that's where Oscar's concern is. He doesn't have the years of watching Survivor to articulate it that way, but he's like, I think we should just load up, because I think he has the same issue. He doesn't trust that everyone will vote the right way, and then he just says, but I'll just do what I'm told. And arguably, even though he does cop the votes from the minority, he probably never expected that he would cop the votes from the minority. So for him, it doesn't really matter if one of them's pulling out an idol, but it would have. But he, I think that's hard to guess that they would pick him. They pick him, I think, because they don't think they can play with him, because he's not a fan, so he doesn't have the nous to flip and those sorts of things.
Yeah, I think he, he doesn't care about the game and this and that, but yeah, he is switched on. He's learning as he goes. And yeah, I think he was correct in that, because the numbers are so tight, like splitting it like it's going to be a 4-3-3, those numbers, one person flipping and you're gone. Like, I would be scared of that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust that. Especially with 2 tribe swaps, and you don't know what relationships other people have and stuff. Yeah, it's too risky for me.
Let's talk about the core of the introvert power structure, which is this alliance of Tyrone, Tilly, Chris, and Oscar. We've obviously mentioned Oscar. Tyrone, I don't think got a lot of content in this episode, which was sad. We really enjoyed his Barb's last episode, directed at Tim and others. I do love the bit where there's a bit of an argy-bargy about who's going to get the eggs from the introvert, and Tyrone's like, it should be me. And Tilly seems a bit uncertain about this. So I do wonder if he is with that group, or if he's a bit on the outside, as Max sees. and she's like, it's gonna be Tyrone. She's like, Tyrone, really? Tyrone, is that what we're doing? Like, Tilly did not seem that good about it. And then Tyrone's, well, I have one of these green ones, which are only worth 10 points, and there was a lot of fucking eggs. There was like 69 plus whatever the other one had, so there's probably like 180 eggs. Like, who cares about these two worth 10? I love that he's like, well, I got the green one, so I should just get it. And they all just like, yes, Tyrone, we bow down to you. I like that strong arming from Tyrone.
Yeah, it worked. But wasn't there, I feel like in a previous episode, Tilly said some positive stuff about Tyrone and that she trusted him. That's in the back of my head for some reason.
Yeah, but there was also a conversation where, and she should trust him. That was from earlier in the game, and he did vote with her, unlike Chris in the first tribal council where Joe was booted. But she's also, there was a conversation where Maddie was sort of not saying, like, including Tyrone in a group she was talking about, and Tilly wasn't really bringing him into it. I'm not saying that means Tilly's not down with him, but I just do wonder if Tyrone, I can't tell, like, it seems like some of the cast can't tell if he is in tight with Oscar, Tilly, and Chris, or if he is a bit of a floater on the outside who's looking to, what's best for Tyrone. And I do think that what hurts Tyrone, if he does want to be part of that group, is that he didn't get to vote with them. Like, he voted with them on the chaotic Joe vote, way back when, but he didn't get to vote with them on the Maddie vote. So they've actually locked in with an actual vote and shown trust, and he wasn't there. He was over at the extroverts at that time. So I think he's in an interesting place. Tilly surprisingly did not get a lot of content in this episode. We get the conversation between Mac and Chris about how Mac thinks he's the power broker and he thinks Chris is the power broker. I'm not sure if either of these are correct, to be perfectly honest. I actually think Shane is more of a power broker and Mac's the target. But I think Chris isn't the power broker. I get why he thinks Chris is, but I think Tilly's the power broker. I think Tilly's the one running the show in that group.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I think, or maybe Chris and Tilly together, because they're quite close, aren't they?
They're very close. They're the core. It's one of the two, but I just feel like Tilly's the leader. But what do you think of Mac's plan to Chris about, hey, you're the big dog, I'm the big dog. Like, there's these people in the middle. There's Tim, there's Beck, there's Tyrone. I don't know what they're going to do. Obviously they could go my way, they could go your way. Like, we don't have to vote together, but how about I keep your name out of it and you keep my name out of it? And Chris seems both annoyed by Mac's brash and alpha extrovert offers, but equally didn't mind it and was happy to keep it as a bit of a option, in his back pocket moving forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, yeah, Mac, he did, like Chris said, he's giving, what did he say, like arrogant alpha vibes or something. Yeah. And that has been a common thread of people's perception of Mac throughout the game, which, helps his ORCA status. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you can see why Mac would think he's in charge, but as the viewer, we do see Shane's cross relationships a lot more. So we know that, yeah, like Mac thinks he's running it, but really it's Shane that has the relationships with the other tribe. But in terms of the three extroverts, Mac definitely was in charge because Tilly was completely under Mac's wing.
It worked. Yes, it did. It did work. The strategy was effective. I don't know if it was that or the thing you pretended to pick up at the jar, or you're running around like a headless chook for an idol. This is the problem. You do everything, you don't actually know what worked, but one of them worked and no one voted for you. So well done, Mac. Look, we'll have to see how that unfolds with your relationship with Chris moving forward. But I do think that it was a solid strategy. And I think it did work. I just want to jump back on Shane for one moment. Shane mentioned when he had his list of advantages, the idol, the blocker vote, the tiki
that
idol.
Was so confusing. I was like, have I been watching this season? Like, there was so much shit. I was like, I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
But he also said he had a golden egg. which was not otherwise discussed or shown in the edit. Did he find a particularly coloured egg in the egg hunt that was another advantage, or is this just something again that Shane found on the ground and he thinks it's an advantage, but it's not, like the tiki idol? Unsure on that. But what I can tell you is I haven't gone back to the stats, but the way to succeed if you're interested in advantages on Sydney Survivor is to be called Shane. I think people called Shane have held like 3 times more advantages than people called anything else. Because Shane in season 1 also had like 4 or 5 advantages, and then obviously this Shane has advantages. So Shane on Sydney equals advantages. Who have we not talked about? We haven't talked a lot about Isabel, and we will, of course.
Beck.
Yeah. What do we think about we're getting some information about the egg. It was a egg in the bird cage. There was a basket of boiled eggs when we got to camp. One was gold. Is it an advantage? Question mark. Tiki idol, golden egg, silver coin, a bronze medal, a fucking stick. It's called the goose that laid the golden egg. This is some fun shit. Yeah, the Shane stuff's wild. Beck promised Shane with all her heart that she would be his survivor wife. She vowed at the altar of Mac to be with them. And when the push came to shove, she did not. All she gave Shane was, "It's not you," because she felt indebted to Tilly's group, who saved her right before merge. Technically, Shane saved her. I don't think Shane ever saved her, really. I guess the vote wasn't on her when Morgan went. And same with Deo, I suppose. So I guess he did keep her in the game once or twice. She did play 2 idols. What do we think? Did Beck owe Shane anything, and did she make the right move here to stay with the introvert 7?
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see her flip and bring some people over, like bring Tim over. Tim was saying to Belle he wanted to flip and all that, and then maybe Joe. That would make things more interesting. But for her gameplay, that's probably not going to work out in the future. So it's probably best to just stick with the 7, and then at 7, fight it out from there in terms of her getting to the end. And even if she plays pretty chill from now till the end, she's found and played 2 idols. She's been quite good socially. Like, she probably doesn't need to do too much like chaotic stuff. She probably has a good shot at the end, and she's likable, she's palatable, maybe not the most exciting gameplay, but she's been very competent and done well. So for her game, it probably isn't the best to flip on everybody and switch things up.
Except that Max seems to be holding a grudge even to this day. We kept Beck over Morgan. That was the deal to keep her safe. Mate, she said that because she'll say anything. She was in the minority. She'll say anything in the minority. And then when you get back to the majority, it's like, what do I actually want to do? I'm going to stick with this crew. Though I don't think it's actually going to last because, as I mentioned, I think Shane and Mac have the savviness to show both their idols and split these introverts apart because, as Mac said, how does it fucking happen? 7 of the 8 made merge. Their first vote was a 4-4 split, don't forget. Joe got voted out by these people. There is, cracks. And they know there's cracks. And you force those cracks by showing 2 idols. As soon as anyone knows, it's like, well, one of us is going, time to make a move. Max confirming there's no grudge. She held up her end of the deal. They were safe. Well, for 1 vote, we have to see how it happens on the next one. I think really all we have left to talk about is Isabel, the very sad boot of this episode. Have I missed anyone before I jump into the Isabel discussion? I think we've covered everyone.
Don't think so. I'm just looking at my notes quickly. But no, we've talked about everything in my notes, yeah.
Isabel, obviously, this episode I thought was really interesting because for so much of the pre-merge, she was such a big character, big personality, talking lots of strategy, building these relationships, being bold and brash and exciting. And I'm not saying she wasn't those things in this episode, but I felt like she was somewhat maybe she was so worried it was going to be her, and it was that she wasn't as big and bold as she was on all the other occasions. I'm not saying she wasn't big and bold; it's just slightly less than the other times. I did like her literally begging Shane for the eggs. And Shane's like, I don't know, maybe I want these eggs. And then Mac's like, I don't give a shit. Just why don't you take the eggs? Like, this is stupid. And then she's like, it means so much to me. And like, I know what it means as a Survivor fan. She wants an individual immunity on her record, on her stat sheet, on Eden's wiki. Sadly, they didn't get enough eggs for her to get that. I reckon she wanted that more than to be safe. Like in terms, it would mean so much to me. I didn't think it was a ploy to be safe. I think it was a ploy to have that. Have you ever won an individual immunity?
Me, yeah.
In an aired season, just to be clear.
Yeah. In my first season, with my fractured knee, I won at the final 6 when I was going to be voted out on the holding the blocks up to spell victory balance challenge. Iconic.
And you almost won the maths thing as well, didn't you?
Half a second.
So you know what it feels like. I don't know what it feels like. I'm sure it's an incredible feeling, even if it is a glorified Easter egg hunt. I'm sure it would be an amazing feeling that Tyrone can tell us all about. It meant so much to Isabel to be on this season, to play one of these LRGs. She came from Melbourne, and she said to us at the start of this episode, everyone, and by everyone I assume we mean her friends, her family, the general Survivor community that she knows, told her she would get voted out first or second, should have zero chance of making the merge, because she has such a bold but bright and exciting personality, but it's the sort of personality that is not necessarily always going to be a strong position for a Survivor game. We love it. Viewers, a big character. That's what matters, characters, not players. But it's not the best. But notwithstanding this, and she was still so authentically herself at all times. She didn't try and be a different person. She didn't try. Well, I assume she didn't try to tone herself down. If she toned herself down, that's wild. She didn't try and tone herself down. She was authentically herself and was still able to build these bonds, build these strong relationships, play well, have a strong social game. And I know Tim didn't go with her in the end, but it still felt like he felt a bit bad about it. Like it did feel like there was a relationship there. She obviously had a relationship with Mac. And Shane as well. I think that the cookies just crumbled the wrong way for her with the numbers, and she was an easier target. If it is true that Chris decided to save Mac and Beck decided to save Shane, then the only reason she was the target here is because the only person that could save her connection is Tim. And Tim just has zero influence on the introverts. Like he is at the bottom of their pecking order. And so any ability that he would have to save Belle, if there's a conversation about everyone trying to save their respective persons, he's not going to win that debate. But she still had that cross-tribal relationship. She played big. She got Mac to play the mutiny. She got advantages and wanted to use them and use them effectively. I think. And, she made merge, and I'm sure she was crying when she got voted out. And, I'm going to make an assumption. She was obviously sad. She was obviously devastated. But she was probably equally happy that that's where the game ended for her. It ended on day 2. It ended on the merge. It ended with her being in the jury in every episode. That was very important to me about making jury. I wanted to be in every episode. Like, how shit is it? Sorry, pre-mergers. That, this is where your journey ends on it. You're even going to keep watching? Like, you don't even get to see yourself. Like, I'm sure she's so excited, and we'll hear about it, about what she achieved. But I was so excited to see her play. There's this funny little moment where we were talking about Belle before the season started, on a different podcast actually,
Oh.
and I mentioned that she had won the Australian Survivor Hidden David Jeanette buff, and that was exciting. And she said in the comments, like, "Oh my God, CK knows who I am," and I'm like, "Oh, that's nice. I do know who you are. I do now. I only broadly knew then, but now I know who you are. I'm excited to have you on here. Obviously, you know, we love everyone who plays these things, but the ones that come with ORCA personality are the absolute best. Let me just. Welcome.
Hi.
Is that true? Were you equally part sad and happy for that to be your endpoint?
At the time, it was fucking
Hey,
devastating. I was
Queen.
like, hello. I was so devastated. I was like, fuck these introverts. Like, I was so pissed off. And I remember just like walking off, and like Christy is like down like this little path, like waiting for me to come out, because Christy and I got along like a house on fire when we like had our chat. And Christy's waiting there, and I'm really sad because I'm pretty sure they filmed it. So like a little bloopers behind the scenes, and like Chrissy and I just like had the best conversation. But I was really pissed. But like I was really excited at the same time, because like it was like my dream. Like I've applied for years for Channel 10, but they lost Channel 10. And I was like, and the only reason I have found these LRGs is because of Christy. She posted on her story one day on Instagram, a day before applications were closing for Sydney. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I applied for it, and then the rest is history. Now I'm here 3 years later.
Wow.
Who were you most pissed at? Were you pissed at Tim, or were you pissed at Shane for voting for you?
Well, I didn't know Shane voted for me. So,
you probably did the numbers later, because in the moment you wouldn't be able to do the numbers. But
yeah,
later you're like, too many votes on me.
so when because I knew that I was going then, and then when Mac played his shot in the dark and was like, he doesn't get a vote, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, so that means there's only like 2 votes, like Shane and I, and maybe Tim. I was like, there is no way I'm staying. And then I was watching it back, and I was like, Tim couldn't even look me in the eye when he was sitting. He was like, he was like, couldn't even look me in the eye. I was kind of pissed at both of them, more so probably Tim, because I knew I kind of literally kind of burnt bridges a little bit with Shane with taking Matt with the mutiny. So, and I thought that I made a really good connection with Tim, and I knew Tim and Beck were really close. So I thought, oh, cool, they'll bring me in. They're like in the middle. But as you were saying in the previews before, like Tim has no say, unfortunately. Like me and Tim are really good friends, but Tim had no say whatsoever to try and save my ass.
Yeah.
So, but I was kind of pissed at both, but that's fine. I love Shane, I love Tim, so.
Based on the arguments I've brought up in this episode, do you think it was fair for you to be mad at Tim for not giving you eggs?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. So when we were doing the eggs, Tim was like, oh, I'll give you all my eggs. Like, it wasn't even like really shown. Tim's like, he's like, don't worry about the introverts. Like, I'll give you all my eggs and everything. And then like 10 seconds later or something, Tim comes up to me. He's like, oh, I can't give you my eggs. I was like, oh, okay, you dog. And then, and then, as I said, like when I was like pleading my case, it was definitely I wanted that necklace more than anything. Not really to be safe. Like it's like I've always watched Survivor growing up. Like dude, to win like immunity, like for yourself. Like I was like, cool. I was like, if someone wants it after me, they can have it. Just let me just win it once. Like just this girl from Melbourne who's flown all the way for a random game that people were like, oh, what's Sydney Survivor? Like, what's all these survivors? But Like, I understand why Tim obviously didn't do it right now, because, like, imagine he gave me his eggs and all the introverts are standing over there, like, why are you still giving the eggs?
Yeah, it would be a silly move, but it
would be pretty funny.
And he probably meant legitimately he was going to give you his eggs, and then once the introvert said, "Well, we're all going to pull eggs," he couldn't do it anymore. So I think it was legit what he was going to do. He couldn't.
Yeah. We because we started it. Max, Shane, and I were like, let's put our eggs together and give one of us immunity over the introverts, because then we can obviously go find idols, go find advantages. At least one of us has that necklace. We only have to find like 2 idols, and then fucking Oscar goes, "Oh, let's put all of our eggs together," and I was like, bruh. Oscar, what are you doing, bro? Seriously. I've already had enough of this kid. Like, and now he's trying to steal all my thunder.
Can we get back to, you mentioned you pissed off Shane with the mutiny. What was the thinking of the mutiny?
Well, when I found out I had this advantage, so like I remember I was like called over by production. They're like, all right, let's play it out. There is a clue there for you, and you're just going to pick it up and read it like you just found it. And I was like, but it's gifted to me, so I didn't find it. So I was very confused about that. So I was like reading it, and I was like I was trying to catch my breath, and I was like, because it was literally 10 seconds after the tribe swap. They pulled me aside. It was my first confessional with them. And then I read this and I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be eliminated. Because if the introverts lose, bye, I'm gone. I'm back over to the extroverts. And then I was like, well, poor Maddie, like she's just gonna have to figure it out for herself. But I knew Maddie was casted wrong. Maddie's definitely our introverted queen over there. She was definitely casted wrong, and I knew she would be fine. Because when we were there, she was talking to everyone, and I was just sitting there like, oh my God, if we go to tribal, I'm literally gone, like literally. And I was like, well, doesn't matter. I'm going to survive another tribal because I have this mutiny advantage. And then when I got it and introverts kept freaking winning and the extroverts lose, I was like, well, I'm not going to go back over to the extrovert. How stupid could I possibly be, like going over there? And then when it was Shane, Beck, and Marissa and Mac left, I was like, well, if Beck has an idol or anything, like she's going to vote Mac. Like I know, because like when we were doing the Kate challenges, like I overheard who she voted for. Like I obviously knew that everyone was going to target Mac. So I was like, well, I have to bring him over. He keeps saying that he would have been safe. Well, no, he actually wouldn't have. Okay, Mac, you wouldn't have been safe. The only reason that you were safe is because I brought you over to the introvert tribe, because Beck was going to vote you out, period.
Yeah,
she would be stupid not to.
I do think that Beck would have idled out Mac over
100%. 100%. Are you serious? As Josh said, he's this big alpha boy with a freaking gorgeous locks. Of course they're going to try and vote him out.
However, I do think that strategically, if Beck thinks there's a chance of losing another challenge, she's better off being between Mac and Shane than being between Shane and Marissa.
Yeah, 100%. But she probably wasn't thinking about that right then. She was probably just trying to get through to the next vote, and hopefully.
He says that Beck said she would have done Rissa. The question is, who is Beck better friends with? If she's better friends with Mac, then she's going to tell Mac that it wouldn't be you.
Exactly.
Why would you hypothetically tell your friend you would have voted them out?
Yeah.
Why would you tell them that?
I agree with Belle. I think, 100%. You're going to idle out the biggest person. Like Phoebe did on Australian Survivor 1, idled out Craig. Like, you're going to make the big, she's not going to idle out like the old woman. You're not saying anyone was an old woman, but like you're going to make the biggest play.
If I was Beck and I had an idol and I was on a thing, I would definitely have voted out Mac, because that just steps up your resume. This big alpha shield who everyone's like kind of like siding with. Beck me like, well, that was my move. Like, of course she's not gonna be like, I voted out Rissa. Like, what's that going to do? Like,
I idled out the woman with cancer.
literally.
Which is what she did do. But like,
She
is
did-
that
she-
did you
she
do that
did.
actually?
She did do that after, like the fact when I took Mac away.
Yeah.
But she obviously made a really quick connection with Shane, which Shane's so easy to talk to. Like he has just the most gentle soul ever. But like watching back, I was like, Shane, you're a badass. Like, seriously. Like, I didn't realize how well he was playing the game. But I got into his head first with the whole Ian vote. So I'm claiming that the day I die.
The biggest tragedy is that that was never shown, and you had to tell us on the podcast.
I
that
was
your Ian move.
devastated. Like, it was, and it wasn't even in the last like 30 seconds. Like, it was like a good, probably like solid 4 or 5 minutes. And I was like, these people want Mac. I'm not having it. What am I going to do? I'll just throw someone under the bus. Ian was pissing me off since like the moment we got there for breakfast. And I was like, I'm not spending 48 hours with this dude talking about bulges in his pants or just anything. Like, he was just like really annoying me. I was just
he's like an HR person's worst nightmare.
I was like, I am not spending 48 hours with you. And Deo was like really quiet and everything. So I didn't really care about, I was like, Deo can say that's fine. But Ian, he had to go. I wanted him gone first when we met him at breakfast, like, because he came all in. He's like, yeah, I'm Ian. Like, let's make an alliance right now. I was like, no, bro, I just woke up. Let me just have my apple juice and my banana and then talk to me, all right?
There's a comment here that from Matt Forrest that Belle was one of the most fun people to watch in the cast. Introverts forgoing all the extroverts is a bit tragic. Can I just put it in you? I want to put something to you. You say that you saved Mac, but if production had then not thrown in another swap, which I think is still a baffling choice, as we talked about, and let's say the extroverts had finally won, the two of Shane and Beck. Who's going then on the new introverts? Is Mac getting fucked over there?
So, well, I actually spoke to Maddie after.
Or are you getting Tim?
No, so when I was talking to Maddie, because you didn't really see this as well much. So Tim was on the bottom, and I didn't realize how badly he was on the bottom. He was more on the bottom than I was on the introvert tribe, like really bad. And I didn't know how much, like, I don't know how he digs such a grave, but he did. And Maddie was saying that Tim, if we went to a tribal, like the introverts would have saved Maddie and I, and Tim would have been eliminated. But Maddie wouldn't have told me, she said, because she knew that I had like made a relationship with Tim. And the only reason Tim and I had such a good relationship is because I saw him wearing Collingwood shorts, and I'm from Melbourne and I'm a mad Collingwood supporter all the way. So like, we just bonded over that, where no one else wanted to talk to me. All Oscar wanted to do was talk about what I had tucked in my pants, which was my mutiny advantage. And he just like always wanted to tell everyone about everything. And then like no one else really kind of wanted to talk. So that's why Tim and I got along so well. But Maddie said that Tim would have been gone. So if there was no swap and Shane and Beck won or something like that, Tim would have been gone, I reckon.
Do you think that's even in the scenario that Mac is there with you?
Yeah.
Don't they want to get the big alpha dog Mac out?
So I think the only person who really wanted to get him out was Tilly, because he called him an arrogant prick. But like,
Queen.
Like he was quite arrogant in that episode, which I kind of I absolutely loved. But like I didn't see Mac as an arrogant prick at all. Like he was real, like, because going into this game, like as you were saying, like I knew that I was gonna have a target on my back straight away. I wasn't gonna change my personality. Like I'm just who I am. Like I don't know where my personality comes from because everyone's like quite timid in my place. So I was like, well, I'm going to literally go first. And like, I was just like this 21-year-old who's just traveled to a different state to play something that she doesn't even know what it is or what this community is. And Mac just like kind of like brought me in. Like, I think he was like, oh, well, she's an easy like number. Let's like bring her in. And same with Nat. Nat literally told me on the day, like the first 5 seconds, she's like, I already played this game. I know how to play the game. So you stick with me, girl, and I've got your back. And I was like, cool, let's go. And then, bye.
Yeah.
I've got to look, it's not the tea party, but I've got to ask the real tea right now. Did you have a crush on Mac?
Oh, I had a fat crush on Mac. Of course I did. He's literally my favorite. when he walked in, I was like,
Me too.
When he walked in, he kind of reminded. So my celebrity crush is Hugh Jackman. I had like a hot for just like old men. Like my boy, I'm in a happy relationship. Me and my partner be together just after Sydney Survivor, and he like my partner's amazing with everything. But of course I did. Are you serious? Like he just like waltzed on in here up to like the plastic table where all our juices, and he goes, "I'm Mac." I was like, well, I'm gone, aren't I?
No, I love that. And I love that you can own it and have a laugh. Queen. 100%. Literally, most people would be like, oh my God, no. It's
no,
like, we all have crushes on people.
No. And his wife, Jackie's probably watching this, and she's fucking one lucky lady. She knows that. Like, she literally knows. Like, Mac is just, like, he's everyone's, like, what everyone kind of looks. Mac is old. Mac is really fucking old compared to me.
Jackie's here, and I'm not getting over the bit where you talked about Mac walking in and the juices being everywhere. That's just throwing me.
Like, Mac was probably like 60, and I was just like 21. Like,
Tyrone's calling your thing a lady Mona.
Both of those podcast boys are hot.
Yeah, and like Mac always stood by me until the very end. Like
he's actually said this. He said this. You weren't easy or an easy number. We just clicked as friends.
We just got along on like a house on fire. Like we have like that same personality. We just want to have fun. We own, like, we're there to just have fun. Like, you don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring. Like Rissa was such a positive person for us, and she was the definition. Tomorrow's not guaranteed, and if I have to flirt my way to the end, like, I'm going to do it. Like, same with like I'm starting to get into like orgs and all that. Like, I've done it, right? Like, I've gotten so far doing it, and like, it's a bit of fun. I'm like, it's like just banter and all that. Like, it's just fun. Like, and like, same with like, and everyone goes, oh, well then like you had Tim. You know what? Like a month later, Tim and I literally flew up to Sydney to go to the football together and everything like that. Like, people can still be friends that are different sex. Like, and like the same, like, I'm just saying, like, I was like, when people were saying and all that, like, it got me pissed off. But like, now I look at it, I just think it's so funny. That
when
people
we pissed off in the game, or when people were saying
kind of both. But then also, like, when we went to the premiere, we had like this premiere, and I got absolutely wasted. And like, everyone was just like, oh my God, you're so over Mac. Oh my God, bro, get a fucking grip. Like, I was just literally trying to make alliances in this game. And if I ever get on the Real Survivor, you're gonna see me attached to some hunker dude to get me. Like, if Josh and I play a game, I will be attached to Josh. Don't worry.
Oh,
I
thanks.
I will be there, and I'll find my king, and I will stick to him. And as I said, like,
Yeah,
I'm a very loyal person, and I'm very loyal in
same.
my alliances. And like, look, you can literally see it to the T on this show. Like with Mac
Yeah.
and with Tim. Like those were the two that I clicked with, and I literally rode it all the way to the end until my torch was snuffed, and you saw me fucking lose my shit and cry for about 3 hours after I got eliminated.
Oh,
Greg's calling for you to be on Big Brother, which I think actually is a little bit cool.
yeah.
Greg also has PTSD from playing with Ash in
You
Uncharted
suck,
Waters. I
Greg.
think.
No,
Um,
and like because of this show and this community, like I've met so many people. Like I just messaged Greg before. Like I met Greg at a karaoke night like a month ago. Now he's like my BFF, and I was like, "Come see me on this podcast." Like,
Greg's been on the podcast. You know.
yeah,
I
like
love Greg.
yeah,
I'm
Greg.
surprised to see him here. Like, hi, Greg.
I
feel
literally
like he hates
I messaged him. I was like,
Greg
"We'll come
told
with
you.
me."
Has Greg told you he was 1 vote shy of being the ORCA of his season?
Oh no.
He deserves it.
He really does. He was really good. But
He
I'm
was
just
an
so
unaware
happy.
ORCA. He was an
Yeah,
unaware
I'm
ORCA.
just
He didn't know
so
anything.
I got a nomination. That's all I really care
You
about.
get 2 nominations, I think.
I literally had the best time. It was so fun. I don't have any what ifs. The only what if I have is, can the extroverts do better at challenges? And the numbers might have been in my favor a little bit. Yeah, he is our lentil king. He definitely is. We love Greg. But yeah, you never know. You might see me around again.
Well, we hope to
sometime
see you
soon.
again. This was an outstanding performance on the podcast for you, and an outstanding performance on the show. Absolute ORCA energy. Jackie's calling for you to be the ORCA, I guess, over her husband. So that's going to cause a fight in the marriage. But we'll have to see how that unfolds for the Congress of the ORCAs vote later this season. But thank you, best interview since you were amazing. Your interview was actually really great, Greg. Actually, from memory, your interview. Maybe
It's my favorite interview ever in the ORCA pod.
It was a great one.
He's so
Thank you so much, Belle, for being so good on the show, always being here live, always participating in the conversation. Loved watching you and loved having you on. All the best.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna run. I gotta get more.
Brommy num, who gets the Brommy num?
Have you seen that before? It's got a lot of controversy. Mark and Loz hate it.
I like it. Is it because it's AI? Like, oh, get over it.
I don't know. All my bits are AI. They just didn't like it. I don't know why, but I love it, and it's got universal acclaim from everyone else. Danny's not the biggest fan either, but I think it's growing on it. This is where we work out who gets the Brommy nom for this episode. If I'm going to recap the Brommy noms, it gets harder as I get more and more episodes. The first episode was Ian, and then it was Tilly. Then we gave it to Belle. Then in the 4th episode, it was Mac. Then in the 5th episode, I think we gave it to Christy, with possibly an honorable mention for Belle. In the 6th episode, it was who did we give it? I wanted to give it to Tyrone, but they gave it to someone else. Who was that? It might have been Mac again, or I can't remember. And then in the 7th episode, they gave it to Nat. I can't remember that one. Maybe Belle got a second one, or Mac or Belle has 2. So that's who would you like to nominate, Josh, for this episode?
I would say maybe Mac or Sneaky Steve, if he counts.
Thanks, Beck. I think Nat does have 2. I think actually you're right about that. So yeah, I think look, I'm still annoyed you only have 1. I'm still annoyed that Tyrone didn't get it last week, to be perfectly honest, because I think he really deserved it. And I did like what I got from Tyrone this episode about the eggs and his reaction to the sausage comment. I am building up a bit of a body of work one, so certainly at some point I'll make sure Tyrone gets a nomination because he does deserve one for the overall season. He just doesn't seem to get the screen time I want. Justice for Tyrone. I want more screen time for Tyrone because I think he's amazing and hilarious, and I want to see more of his snark. Please, Eli. I've already edited the whole thing, but I would like to see more Tyrone putting out in the universe. I think I have to go for Mac in this episode. Just the behavior at Tribal Council in particular. Yeah. The sausage thing to Tyrone is funny, but the behavior towards Oscar at Tribal Council, and also just strong arming the game. Like he's like, fuck these people, they're not voting with me, I'm not getting voted out here, I'm gonna go find a fucking idol, right? You know, like, let's go. Tyrone says we should watch episode 9 and 10 of Floor, which he's presently on. If you want to see some ORCA behavior, check out Tyrone on an actual TV show. So
I didn't know he was on the floor. That's cool. One of my friends from Perth was on it. Pippa. I wonder if Tyrone knows Pippa.
Go watch it. Watch the floor. Watch it. How are you not watching your friend on a TV show? What's
like acquaintance more than a friend.
Okay.
Rooting for her.
So what do you think is going to happen? Okay, Brommy for Mac. Second Brommy. Well done, Mac. What's ring-a-ding-ding? Mac Daddy is the king again. Josh, what do you think is going to happen in the next episode?
I think, they're in like an ultra minority, 7 versus 2. I think they're gonna, like you said, like what was it, Survivor Karamoan, like when whatever they call the Three Amigos or whatever, when they pulled out their idols, and then I love that, iconic. I think they're gonna pull out their idols, bluff everybody, and say, yeah, you guys have got to fight between yourselves. And then hopefully they can become the power brokers and build like a new 5-person alliance and save their idols as well. Like cause so much chaos they don't even have to play them, and then just like bluff them out. Just do some like Rizzo antics. That would be good.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have Shane and Mac doing that. I think they're going to bring in Beck. They're going to bring in Tim. Even though Tim fucked them over, whatever. They're going to bring in Tim and they're going to bring in Joe. And I reckon they're going to target Tilly. Maybe Oscar, but I think Tilly. I think Mac will keep. I think Mac will try and keep Chris safe. Like he'll try and keep that side deal happening. I think that Tyrone is seen as flexible, as someone that's potentially available. So I don't think he's the target. You go for the power, and the power head of that alliance is Tilly and Chris. And if Mac's going to not vote for Chris, it's got to be Tilly. I don't think there's any value in voting for Oscar on this sort of move, unless that's the requirement of a Beck or a Joe or Tim that they vote for Oscar. In which case, you might just go with it. I don't think there's value in that move.
Yeah, fair.
I also love to say, I didn't mention this, Mac's already got the Brommy, but one final little shout out for Mac. I love how he just kept telling people, like Shane, I'm safe, I've done some deals. Like, he doesn't elaborate to Shane what these deals are or who he's out there, like, saying shit to. He's like, I reckon I'm safe, I've done a bunch of deals. And Shane was just like, cool. I love that. He's a hustler. He's a hustler. All right, thank you, Josh, for coming on. Great show. We're excited to see you. If not next week, later in the season when you take on the Tea Party. Big shoes to fill, but I know you can do it, and you can represent our most ORCA episode of the season in the Tea Party later on. We will be back next week. Tune in. Also, we're on Wednesday for the penultimate episode of Canberra Survivor. If you're checking out Canberra, then the final episode of Canberra's on Wednesday. Next episode of Sydney will be on Friday, and we will be, of course, back next Monday for all our coverage of episode 9. I feel like there's going to be a lot of episodes in this season. You know, we've still got 9 people to go, and we're at episode 8. Yeah. Season. But I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. I don't want it to end. Thank you, Josh. Thank you to Maddie and to Isabel for a great interview. I like spending the money, Tyrone. I want to come and buy you shots, baby. That's what I want to happen. We will see you next week. Until then, we will dance. Yeah. We got a cat. Wow. Thank you.